Who am I? That's a question I'm often asking myself. Who am I? Who are you? It's one of those things, isn't it? As you grow up, as you start out in life, you think, little children, they think they're sort of still connected with their parents, aren't they? They need the help of their parents until slowly, after several years, they begin to become aware that actually they're not their parents. The parents are not an extension of them, and that actually their mum and dad are separate beings. They're not actually connected in the same way that you are when you've got that umbilical cord. And you start to think, oh, hang on a minute, I am this thing with arms and legs, and I've got to go through life, and I'm learning a language, and I'm able to communicate with these other beings that look like me. And you start to sort of get to that point. And I remember when I was in, well, I suppose in adolescence, and I started asking that question, who am I? Who actually am I? I mean, I could see myself in a mirror, of course, and I thought, yes, I've been told that I was a human being, but I didn't really know what that meant, other than that I had all these arms and legs, accoutrements, you might say, and if I fell over and grazed my knee, blood would come out, and so there was that. But then you'd often sit in those quiet times and think, this is interesting because this is my hand. It's my hand. It belongs to me. It's nobody else's hand. It's my hand. It's got the fingers have got a unique thumb or fingerprint on it that's sort of associated with me. But it's not actually me, is it? It's not me. My head is not me. My body, you know, we've all done that, have we not? We've all gone, oh yes, even my brain. That's not me. They belong to me. They're sort of tools that I can use. And then as you develop, you start to think, well, actually, there must be something else, that deeper thing, that spirit, you might call it. Some people might call it other names, a sort of ghost or soul, or part of the universal mind, or whatever it is. You start to think of this, let's call it a spirit for the sake of argument here. And you think, well, maybe that's me, is it? Because it's not, I can't be my thoughts. I'm not just a collection of thoughts, random thoughts floating about, because again, they belong to you. So it must be something, some entity, a spirit maybe, that is thinking. And then I start to think, and I've used this term a few times now, as this nameless spirit. I am a nameless spirit that resides in this body of flesh and blood. But it's only here for this lifetime. When this body of this flesh and blood finishes, it disappears, it's gone. And I've seen that when my dad died. I was there when he died. It took him 5 or 6 days of laboured breathing at the end of his life until eventually he was snuffed out. And he just finished. And something then disappeared from that corpse as it lay there wax-like and immovable. And I knew that wasn't him. No matter this overcoat that no longer did anything, that started immediately to, what's the word, decompress, not decompress, decompose, didn't decompress, but he floated away, or wherever he went, I don't know. But that spirit of him had gone. And so it's interesting when you think of that, and then you think, well, why am I here? What is the purpose of this? Why have I come onto this plane, this planet, whatever it is, and what is it all about? Well, you start to think, actually, what is it that I really need then? You need, you know, as a human being, you need a roof over your head in order to be content. You don't want to be outside. It's absolutely pouring with rain outside, and I'm sitting in here thinking how lucky I am. I've got a roof over my head that isn't completely full of leaks. There might be a few buckets here and there gathering some of it, but you need a roof over your head, and so that's all good. And then what else do you need? Well, obviously you need food to fuel this thing, otherwise your existence here is very short-lived. And that's not going to be conducive to whatever it is you're here to do or understand or appreciate. So you need food, clearly, and obviously wholesome food, because this device that you use, this incredible, amazing body, this wondrous machine, if you like, of flesh and blood and lungs and tissue and stuff like that needs good quality food. We don't need all that highly processed rubbish that they're trying to flog you in the supermarkets, that people like Bill Gates want you to have synthetic nonsense. No, no, no. We've got to have proper, wholesome, organic food, both stuff that grows in wholesome soil, full of nutrients and the good stuff, as well as, funnily enough, animals. All that fantastic meat that is actually very good for you. And I know some people would disagree, but we can have a disagreement of an opinion, of course. It's just an opinion. So we need food, we need shelter, we need warmth, don't we? And fire, that primeval thing, fire, that we can get into a grate and warm ourselves up with. We need that in order to survive, to clean ourselves, to dry ourselves, to keep warm. So that's another thing that we need. So there are the very basics, and of course good quality water, which we can turn into all sorts of fancy drinks if we so wish, but at essence we need the water, for without water, good quality, pure water, not adulterated with fluoride and other chemicals that have come from the big farming industry that's come in there, or the pollutants in the atmosphere or anything like that. We need good quality water. That's what we need in order to keep this body going and to keep the brain functioning, that somehow we do use that. The spirit in there somehow uses all of this, because we know if we get into trouble and we feel pain, that it's not helpful. Although there is an element, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where you're in pain and you go, oh yes, I can feel pain. The pain isn't me. There's always this sort of separation from it. Although sometimes, of course, if the pain is quite severe, it does feel like it is definitely us and you can't step back from it. But in essence, we're not really this that we see. And of course, I've been speaking about this, we're not this fictional character that they write in capitalisation, that the corporations, these dead entities, want us to act as if we are. That's sort of a fiction, isn't it? We have to act as if we are this thing, and they try to get joinder and make us be these characters and make us pay all these bills that these characters are getting. But we're living sentient creatures in this body. So what does that mean? What is our purpose here? Our purpose must be joyous. It must be to thrive. It must be happy, to have our vibrations high. Why would we want to come here if we have that choice? Why would we want to be in a situation in which we're fearful all the time, or run down, or feeling ill, when we know that the elements that we need to keep us happy and thriving, the love of our family and our friends and our loved ones, and yet somehow as a species, if you like, as creatures, spiritual creatures, we've got ourselves into this very strange situation in which we're not really thriving. And yet you can say this is what we should have. And as sophisticated creatures, thinking creatures, we've seemed to now kept ourselves incredibly busy earning a living. And even that phrase, earning a living, we don't even think about it, do we? We just go, oh, that's what you've got to do. Why do we have to earn a living? We are living. Why do we earn it? Who says we have to earn it? Oh, wait a minute. Businesses and corporations and bank managers and mortgage people, they require us to earn a living. That even just to have shelter and to have a door and windows and things, you suddenly have to pay a tax just to have shelter, a council tax they call it here in this country, which is starting to keep you in debt. We've been placed, these wonderful, amazing spiritual creatures that we are, with this wonderful, amazing body that we carry about. And yet we've got ourselves all fenced in debt to people who don't even exist. Corporations don't even exist. They're just a concept. They're just arbitrary figments of the imagination. And we sort of pretend that we're part of it. And then when you think, what do we actually need? We don't need this busyness, these trinkets, these things that we very actually, at the end of the day, we only need very simplistic, very basic needs. As I say, good water, good food, the love of our family, friends, joviality, all of that. And yet somehow we've spirited that away, and we've got these so-called we're all so sophisticated and civilized, and we live in this complicated world in which we have to pay taxes, and we have to go and earn a living, and we go off in our vehicles, and we work and we slave just so that we can come back and stand still and pay all these bills. Why have we allowed this situation ever to happen? There are many people like myself who now realise that all of this is fakery. That we just want to go back to the land, to have a small patch of land to grow our own vegetables, to have a small a bunch of friends that we can trade with and say, look, I've got some potatoes, would you like some carrots? I'd like some of this. And trade with one another, to have people round, to have fun and not feel that you've got to work 9 to 5, guilty if you haven't got up earlier than the sun. All of this, it just seems that we have manufactured a world that isn't actually right for us, isn't ripe for us as sentient beings in this body of human blood. We're sitting, working for other people with a hierarchy above us telling us what we should do and what we can't do, which is completely wrong. We live under artificial lights, which is not wholesome for one thing. We're spending most of our time inside instead of outside. We're not in nature. This seems to me that this sentient being is supposed to be, yes, we need the shelter and we need all those basic things, but we need to be outside, embracing nature, being part of nature, being one with nature. And yet, what have we done? We've concreted the whole place. We've built these big houses and we've got electricity zooming around. We've immersed ourselves in all of this Wi-Fi and stuff which is keeping us down and not making us telepathic, inspirational. All the things that perhaps we perhaps once were able to do, we've pushed ourselves ever more, and we teach our children to be good slaves, to go and get a job, not to idle about. Actually, sometimes just sitting about doing nothing, thinking, pondering about what life is worth, is probably a lot more important to us as a human being than having to go and get some dead-end job, doing something that we don't want to do, that doesn't make us flourish, that isn't thriving, isn't creating something for us and our friends and our family, and isn't helping. And yet living on a little homestead, rearing animals, growing food, laughing, having a drink with your friends, isn't that life more about that? Being creative, creating your own entertainment. We used to do that. People used to learn instruments, they would sing, they would dance, they would write, they would tell stories round the fire. We've got other people now to do that. We have television that does it. People live through other people's lives. People watch soap operas and they watch other people having their lives whilst they go to work 9 to 5 or longer, or worry about paying mortgages, or worry about paying credit cards and trying to get out of debt. This is all wrong. As sentient beings, as nameless sentient spirits living in this body, we've created a world that's not correct for us. And I think going forward, we're beginning to realise this, and it's come ahead. We're at that time now where we're starting to realise, actually, what do we want? We don't want this society in which governments, creations that we have created, man creates a government, The created can never be above the creator. And yet these created governments, these administrations are telling us what to do, telling us how to live and extracting money from us, pretending they're protecting us by fighting wars we never asked to get involved with. And they're advising us to shut our doors and stay locked up because there's supposedly some virulent disease going around. They're encouraging you to damage your immune system, your natural, wonderful, incredible immune system, damaging it by taking artificial chemicals into your body that actually are causing more problems left, right and centre. And then those people that represent the government sing from the same hymn sheet and say things like, no, no, don't worry, it's safe and effective, we have a lot of that, and don't believe anyone who tells you something different. These people who work in a place you call Parliament, Parliament, they tell you lies. They tell you lies. And we, as a slave, we vote for them. And yet we are sovereign beings, masters of our own creation. We do not have to submit to all of this. In this new world that I think we are slowly creating and pushing back on the nonsense that keeps coming, we will get rid of this. This is why I think this government system is all wrong, because they do not serve us to make us help us bring us better lives. They seem to be putting more and more things forward which are anti-human, anti what our purpose is, taxing us left, right and centre, poisoning our food, putting up cameras to surveil us, and all of this, getting our kids to be more sexual. Things that you and I, as sentient beings, do not need, want, desire, or even have asked for. Why are we putting up with it? We don't have to. This world that you see, that we see in front of us, it's an illusion, it's theatre. And if we believe it, if we allow it to continue, it's no good to us. It's detrimental to this nameless spirit that is here to love one another and enjoy this experience. Let's face it, you see the faces of people, you see them shuffling, you see the pressures of life. That's not what this is about. This is about so much more: fun, love and joy. Let's turn this around. Let's push back against these evil governments that think that they have the control. That's not what we're here for. I'm absolutely certain. And maybe you agree. I don't know, but that's just my opinion. Push back. Don't comply with all their nonsense. We are much better than that. We only need very simple things, and we will realise a better life, I believe, quite soon.